And next up is Adam Felsenfeld, and he's going to give you a concept presentation for a renewal of a program announcement, Centers of Excellence in Genomic Science. Adam?
All right, good to talk to you, everyone. Good to see you. I'm here today to present a concept for renewal of the Centers of Excellence in Genomic Sciences program. And as you recall, this is for a PAR, program announcement, rather than an RFA. So we have funded the Centers of Excellence in Genomic Science program for about 20 years, a long-standing NHGRI program with co-funding from NIMH. Many of you may be familiar with it, but the investigators choose the science topics. Each application is each CEGS is an individual project, independent project. There is minimal NHGRI coordination other than an annual meeting and one site visit towards sort of the end of the first funded period. We ask for applications that propose highly innovative science with high significance. They are encouraged to take risks. They are expected to be interdisciplinary. They are almost always very highly integrated with interdependent aims. CEGS are not just for the next steps in what is otherwise excellent science. They are not for programs or projects that can be funded through multiple R01s. They are not for just data production, and they are not a program project for a department. They are made as 5-year awards with a single potential renewal, so 10 years maximum, at about $2 to $3 million total costs per year. And the last receipt for the current announcement is actually this month. Again, for the CEGS program, there is no set aside. We have currently 8 active awards with an outlay of about $12.5 million in fiscal year 21 to date. We expect to fund 2 additional awards this year. Now, if you've been here for a while, if you've been in council for a while, you may recall that there's also an emerging Centers of Excellence in Genome Sciences that's funded by congressional set-aside to build genomics capacity at institutions that are not prior or current grantees of the CEGS program. There are 2 active awards, and we expect to fund additional awards this year, and we'll talk about that in closed session. This is just a map of where awards have been made. There are 25 current and past CEGS plus 2 e-CEGS. Awards made to 25 investigators at over 20 institutions, and you can see how they're distributed. The colors are not great on this map. I apologize for that, but the green circles are active, and they're labeled. The orange circles are active e-CEGS. There are 2 of those, and the red circles are past CEGS. In summarizing the CEGS, it is very hard to do justice to them in the short time that I've got, just because the research topics are so varied and so different, but I can give you an idea of the range. And they are across the interests of NHGRI. And I think it's an important point that about the program overall. It has a scope that encourages us to push our boundaries, because the best of these tend to extend what we see as our interests or begin to explore potential new ones. So topics have included, for example, chromosome scale engineering, advancing the speed, sensitivity, and comprehensiveness of tools for understanding genome regulation, significantly advancing and refining CRISPR-based methods and applications, improving throughput of assessment of the consequences of variants in human genes at a scale that actually has a hope of addressing the magnitude of the problem. Technologies that will allow subcellular resolution for omics analysis, tools for understanding the dynamics of RNA modification and its relationship to phenotype, new spatial genomics methods to understand the omic and local environmental determinants of cell fate, and direct visualization and functional analysis of human regulatory regions in intact cells. Again, we are requesting concept clearance for a program announcement. There would be no set aside, but the applications are reviewed by NHGRI. We want to make a few small changes compared to what we had in the previous PAR. First, and most importantly, we want to align the application topics to the new NHGRI strategic vision. We would like to keep the general goals, so all the same the same desire for novelty, ability to take risks, potential significance, integration of the aims, et cetera. We want to keep all that. But we do think that we need to emphasize a bit more the requirement for outreach and training plans, which sometimes is not in applications given the same amount of emphasis as some of the other goals. We do want to encourage areas that have been underrepresented in the CEGS program, specifically computational or translational projects. We've had some of each, but not a lot. We would like to encourage applications from institutions not previously funded, as we have in the recent past. And we would like to focus on a limited number of awards, perhaps 7 to 10 would be ideal, to maximize the level of funding available for individual grants. And before I go to the questions, I would like to thank the CEGS program team, especially Sean Guerin, who drafted most of these slides, and also to the review branch, who have done double duty this year with the CEGS. So I'll go to questions, and I've asked Olga and Len to kick off the discussion. So Olga.
Thanks so much, Adam. This looks like a great program. I think it makes a lot of sense to focus, or at least to try to focus it for the next set in targeting computational and translational applications, which would be quite complementary to the existing centers. And of course, it does make a lot of sense to try to get more from the institutions that haven't been part of the program previously. I'm wondering how, can you talk a little more about how this will actually be accomplished? Like how will you just programmatically prioritize these applications? Do you want to actually put this explicitly into the program announcement, the topics?
Yeah, I think it needs to be both. We have to demonstrate that, and very likely we will, when we actually get to writing the FOA, we will likely have to think about the review criteria to attract the kinds of grants we want to. And we have had discussions internally back and forth about, how much is too much to try to include and how much we should try to keep together. And on balance, we'd like to try to keep things together for now.
Great.
Len, do you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I mean, this is a no-brainer. I mean, it makes a ton of sense. It's been a really successful program. I think the funding level is right in that it allows for team science and multidisciplinary type of approaches. So I think if it was smaller block of funding, you wouldn't be able to have multiple PIs at the table. And your call out of trying to link this to the strategic plan makes a ton of sense. It's timely and it has a broad remit, so it's not going to exclude anybody more or less. But I think it should be explicit, like you said. So I really don't have any questions, and I'm highly supportive of this.
Thank you, Len. Any other questions or comments? Howard?
Yeah, Adam, I'm highly supportive of this mechanism as you and obviously the renewal of the CEGS program. But as you pointed out, this has been highly successful, and you indicated that you want to keep the number of awards to a certain number so that each one could be funded to a scale that you desire. I wonder whether it makes sense to think about actually expanding the number of awards, and because, as you pointed out, it's investigator initiated, it has had a high impact. Now you're hoping to expand the scope of what the CEGS program will deliver. And so as long as they are meritorious and they score well, why artificially cut off at 7 to 10 active awards at a time?
Yeah, so this is a good question, and I can't give you I can't give you more than what I feel is a subjective answer or a process answer. So I think if NHGRI had lots and lots of money, this is something that we would consider. But I think as a proportion of our overall portfolio, this is about right. And this is my sense from talking to my colleagues. There are many other ways to do really excellent science other than a CEGS. I agree with you that the mechanism does encourage risk-taking and things like that, but there are other mechanisms, and funding CEGS does, it's a zero-sum game ultimately in a way. And I think just for balance across across the. I know these are not formally because we are soliciting them, not formally investigator-initiated projects, but they are comparable to all our other portfolio in those areas, and I think that's about the right balance. I think it comes out to about over 7% or 8% of that portfolio, maybe a bit more, and that seems about right.
Other comments or questions for Adam? Okay, if not, can I get a motion to approve the concept?
So moved.
And I see multiple
Okay.
hands. I'll take that as a second. All in favor, please raise your hand and hold it there for just a couple seconds. Thank you. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Let's move right along.